Hi there, welcome to this video which is all about trying to find ways to get a bigger sound or to stop your clarinet sound from being tight or restrictive. If you've been playing the clarinet for a while, you'll know that your embouchure is really important, and getting the right kind of embouchure has a big impact on your ability to play with flexibility, to play through the full range of the instrument, and also to be able to control the dynamics. So this is just a quick look at some of the things that you can do to try and open up your sound if you're finding it difficult in certain areas. So one of the first things that you need to do to think about is actually have a good look at your clarinet. Okay, so the first thing to do is to look at the mouthpiece on your instrument, the reed specifically, the distance between the reed and the clarinet mouthpiece. If you look sideways very closely, you'll notice that the reed comes away from the mouthpiece at a particular point. So if I use my, close one eye, so it's around about here on my clarinet, yeah, that far down, maybe a little bit further. And that's because the mouthpiece is contoured backwards, so that allows room for the reed to vibrate. So the reed is in position, and in order for the reed to have the correct space, the clarinet mouthpiece is contoured backwards. So, and every mouthpiece is different, so depending on what kind of mouthpiece you have, you'll have a different, what we call tip opening, and you'll have also varying degrees of closeness and openness in your mouthpiece. So I'm not going to go into that today, this is a separate thing, but this is just things to think about if you're playing. If your embouchure isn't optimizing this space here, you'll get a sound that will sound a little bit restricted. And then when I'm trying to go high, you can see it's quite difficult to get the notes to come out, to be in tune, or even to speak at all. So one of the first things that you need to do, and this is what I tell my pupils, is if you put the clarinet in your mouth as you would normally do, and then experiment with just dragging your bottom lip down the face of the reed a bit more, so that you're basically opening up this space. So if I go in a similar place as I just did then, right there, not very much mouthpiece, okay? Not very much reed is available. But if I go drag the lip down, you'll hear what happens. Now that's about the place that I usually play. But if you go too far, you'll soon find out. So when I go too far, you get the next harmonic up, and that's not the sound that you want. Also, the sound can start to get a bit too sort of honky. So that's one thing to consider, which is how good your embouchure is at maximizing the available reed vibrations. So that's one thing to consider, is the available reed that you have in your mouth. And my advice is keep the clarinet closer to your body. Lots of people play with the clarinet out like this, and I can talk about that too with posture in another video, but that doesn't make a good sound. So I think keeping the clarinet nice and close to you, much more of an acute angle. Our bodies are designed for that. And I'll talk about that in another video. So just keep the clarinet nice and close, make sure that your posture is that you're looking straight ahead, and then drag your bottom lip down the face of the reed a bit more than perhaps you would ordinarily if you're having this problem. Okay, of course you need to be supporting the right way with the air. The other thing to think about as well is about how much you're biting. Now, I use quite a relaxed light setup, relatively speaking, because I want to maximize all those vibrations that make the sound good, in my opinion. But what a lot of people do, and I notice this in particularly in younger places, they bite down quite hard. Now you can hear if I play in the same way. If I bite, I can't make any sound on my particular setup, but lots of people, when they're playing, that is how they produce their sound. And that becomes a real problem later on, because if you're trying to do a diminuendo, for example, and play really, really quietly, if you're already biting, you've got nowhere to go, and the sound is only going to deteriorate in its quality and its pitch. It will probably go up in pitch. So you always need to be really, really relaxed with your mouth. So one thing you can do to see how much you're biting and how much you're not supporting with your diaphragm is to do an oboe embouchure, a double embouchure. Now this hurts, and that's the point. So is that if you roll your top lip over your top teeth as well as your bottom, like that. Now, that's not the sound that you want to make, obviously. But once you've done that, because it hurts, and when you then go to a normal embouchure and play normally, you'll feel that it feels much freer. One, because before you were biting, and in order to get a decent sound when you do double embouchure, the only thing you can do is push harder with your diaphragm, is push the air harder, particularly as you go higher up. So there, going really, really high, I can feel my core muscles here, my abdominal muscles, the ones that power the diaphragm, really, really squeezing super, super hard. Now when you then go to normal embouchure, you'll feel that your mouth is relaxed, and if you use the same feeling down here in your core muscles to push the air, that rebalances the equation between your embouchure and your core, your diaphragm. So hopefully the sound will then be bigger. So in combination, using a bit more tip opening and trying that exercise in your warm-ups when you start, along with scales, doing some double embouchure just to check whether you're really using these muscles down here. Often we compensate and we try and produce the sound by biting too much onto the reed, and you can focus the sound quite a lot by how much you press. But in order for the sound to be uniform across the entire instrument, what we don't want to do is we don't want to bite. We just want to get just the right amount of contact with your mouth, your lips and your teeth on the mouthpiece to allow the reed to vibrate. If you get too much, then you have problems with intonation and you have problems with upper notes. The air is the king, and that's what we want to be using always to make the sound on the clarinet. So I hope that's been useful. A little bit of insight into how I help my pupils to open up their sound, or to consider ways to do that.